Hi guys, it's Mrs. Geiger. I'm going to screencast a lesson to you where I'd like you to take some notes. Obviously, since this is an ed puzzle, you'll just be answering the questions as they pop up. So, solution stoichiometry. We already talked about stoichiometry. Stoichiometry is where you use the mole-to-mole ratio in order to solve a problem where you are converting from one substance to another within a chemical reaction. So some things you need to know about solution stoichiometry. When we did stoichiometry before, we always talked about mass in grams or moles. Here we're going to be using molarity. So you should remember that molarity is equal to the moles per liter. All right. So I have this equation here. The number of moles per liter is how we measure molarity. And if we had a problem where it said 20 grams of sodium hydroxide is dissolved in water to make 0.5 liters of solution, we could use this to determine the number of moles as well as the molarity. So the first thing that we would do is remember that the number of moles is always going to be equal to the given mass divided by the gram formula mass, or you can say the molar mass of that substance. So we're going to need to use this mole equation first, and then second, use the molarity equation. So the first step here is to determine the number of moles. I have here in my problem 20 grams of NaOH. Well, I know that I'm going to put 20 grams in my numerator. And then my substance is sodium hydroxide. So my next step is to determine the gram formula mass for that sodium hydroxide. So pause the video and determine the gram formula mass for sodium hydroxide. Go ahead. All right, so we're back. And you should have determined that the gram formula mass of sodium hydroxide is 40 grams per mole. Remember that formula mass or gram formula mass or molar mass are all the same thing, and they're always going to have the units of grams per mole. That tells me that I have 0.5 moles. We did this problem in class, so hopefully you're remembering it as I'm going through it. Now, if I have 0.5 moles of NaOH, and it is in 0.5 liters of NaOH, I can then go back and plug into my handy-dandy molarity equation here and say that the molarity, the concentration, is equal to 0.5 moles over 0.5 liters, and I would have a 1 molar NaOH solution. All right, so we did this already, but we can also go backwards. And what I mean by that is that we can do those steps in reverse to determine the mass or the number of moles. So we can either do one step or both steps in order to determine the number of moles. So go ahead and write down this problem. 20 milliliters of a 2 molar NaOH solution reacts, blah, blah, blah. So this would be the beginning of a solution stoichiometry problem. Step 1 will always be to determine the number of moles. So in this case, I'm going to use my molarity equation again. And we know that molarity is equal to the number of moles divided by the number of liters. So I'm going to go ahead and plug my values into this equation. I have 20 milliliters and I have a 2 molar solution. Before I can plug in my volume, though, I'm going to need to convert those 20 milliliters into a number of liters. Now, if you take a look at your reference table C, remember, tells you that it's a factor of 10 to the minus third. And how are we going to use that 10 to the minus third? 20 is going to be divided by 1,000, or you can say 20 times 10 to the minus third. Or, as most of you would say, just move the decimal point. So, if I know that I have 20 here, and my decimal point is at the end of the number, to go to liters, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 spots. Remember to add your zeros in. So that means that I have 0.020 liters of solution for this example. All right. If you have trouble with that calculation, if you do not right now have a good grasp on how you can go from milliliters to liters, please put that in your daily attendance check-in, that is something that you need help with, and I'll send you some more resources for metric conversions. But I think the majority of you guys are good on that. So then I'm going to go ahead and plug in. I have a 2 molar solution. I want to find out the number of moles, and I know that it is a 0.020 liter solution. So how many moles do I have? Simply cross multiply here, multiply here to find your number of moles. All right, so after you get your calculator out, or if you just know that 2 times 0.2, so the number of moles here is going to be 0.040 moles of NaOH. Now, let's say that the question wanted you to find the mass. Usually with solution stoichiometry, that won't be the case. But in this example, what if you were asked to find the number of grams that 0.40 moles contained? Then you would go back up here to the mole calculation, and you would use that in order to determine the mass here. So we're going to say 0.040 moles is equal to, what would the mass be if I know that there are 40 grams per mole for NaOH? So a simple cross multiplication here. And you should see that you get 1.6 grams of NaOH. Okay, so that was a basic idea of how you go through these types of problems. I'm going to post some practice problems on this tomorrow, and I want you to use this idea to be able to solve for the number of moles or the number of grams. All right, I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that you're all doing well. All right, much love, Mrs. Geiger.